Welcome to another edition of Shelby This Week. Here are some of the stories we have for you. With Election Day right around the corner, we tell you about some of the candidates you will see on the ballot. In response to a recent opioid town hall, Shelby Township was the spot of a follow-up discussion. We have all these stories and more on this edition of Shelby This Week. For the past several weeks, we have been bringing you candidates running in the upcoming midterm election. The Sterling Heights Regional Chamber of Commerce reached out to all parties for the interviews in our studio. On the ballot for county executive is incumbent Mark Hackle, running for his third term. On the Republican side is Joseph Hunt.
I was born and raised here in Macomb County, and it's not about trying to figure out how we promise them we're going to fix your roads and provide the services that you're looking for, but just a simple promise that I'm going to continue to maintain that highest level of integrity to try to do the best things on behalf of the public, maintaining the thing that's required out of government, and that's a balanced budget, but making sure that their money is being utilized in the right fashion. So. For me, it's just basically saying, you've trusted me before to do the right things, not only as a public official in law enforcement, but as a public official, as the first ever county executive, and I'm going to continue to make sure that you're proud of this place you call home, and especially with the guy who's supposed to be leading the county. I'm going to continue to do that.
Joseph M. Hunt appears in the middle column at the very bottom after the state and congressional races. I believe that I have the background and the experience, and more so the stamina and youthful exuberance in order to basically lead the county. And this is basically to, as we hear, drain the swamp. There's a variety of different appointed positions that I know that I would replace immediately, not necessarily with my friends, but people basically that have been involved in government for at least a dozen years that would basically redirect the way the mentality is in the county of Macomb. I'm going to rebrand it.
After a trying 2 years in the clerk's office, the county will have the opportunity to elect a clerk register of deeds. On the ballot will be Fred Miller and Lisa Sinclair.
I believe I have the experience, I have the connections, I have the knowledge of the issues, but I also want to emphasize that I'm not related to anybody in county government. I don't come from a political family, and so while I've been working at this for a while, I kind of bring an outsider's perspective, and I have a history of reform, and I wrote the county ethics ordinance. I reformed the way that county contracts are awarded to instill more oversight and checks and balances. And so I really have I work hard to not lose sight of whose government this is. It's not for the politicians, it's for the people. And we need people on the inside who constantly remember that and are working to make sure that it's still the people's office.
I'm the candidate. I'm going to go in there on November 6th. That I'm going to win the election that night, and I'm going to go in there. I have a platform because my platform speaks to the residents. Okay, just like we talked about with all this fair and efficient service with a smile, I'm going to get in there just like an emergency nurse, and I'm going to start running from day one and meet with the staff, learn from them. I want to learn their personalities, and I actually want to sit down with them and ask them, what do you like about your job? What do you dislike about your job? How can we make it better? And I want to really work hard to unite that whole office of 85 people. And my number one goal as being the clerk is I want to have the most well-run office in Macomb County ever in history, and I'm going to do that by working with staff and using e-filing and technology, and I know that with my skills we can get there.
For the county commissioner seat is incumbent Republican Jim Carabelli. On the Democrat side is Ken Reed.
Macomb County is in a great spot. Macomb County is now being the benchmark, not only in the state, but from around the country. From the arsenal of democracy that we've embraced and we've partnered with, and to continue moving it forward.
Peter Lucido is leaving behind his state representative seat and will be on the ballot this election cycle, running for state senator 8th District. Lucido is running against Democrat Paul Francis.
I've got the talent, and more importantly, I've got the time to give back to my community. I love Macomb County. I love the people. I love the excitement. I started a magazine called Macomb Now because I love this county. This is a county that I think is enriched with people that are spirited, and they do things for the community because they love the community too. So when Lucido goes to Lansing, he not only brings the experience, but he also brings the passion of the county up there to give back. And I believe that I'll be tirelessly doing what I've been doing in the House on a greater scale for this county, and I'd love to continue to serve. So on November 6th, I'm asking for their vote again, and I'll show them the confidence in me that I feel that they deserve. Give it back to the people.
The House of Representatives 13 district has Democrat John Spica and Republican Diana Farrington.
I am a Main Street type of guy. I understand what it's like, the struggle. I understand what it's like when you don't have that money to pay the bills and to balance that budget. I'm going to Lansing to work for you and to represent you. I can reach across the aisle. I'm very well liked, respected. I can get the job done. And we really need somebody in Lansing, which we don't have right now. We need somebody in Lansing that represents our working and middle-class families of this community.
If you would like to watch more from these candidates and the candidates we featured the previous weeks, you can watch our candidates program on Shelby TV or visit our YouTube page. Also on the ballot November 6th will be 3 key proposals which voters across the state of Michigan will have the opportunity to weigh in on. Proposal 1 is the coalition to regulate marijuana like alcohol. If passed, this proposal would allow anyone 21 or older to purchase and use marijuana and marijuana-infused edibles. The individual would also be allowed to grow plants for personal consumption. A 10-ounce limit would be enforced for marijuana kept at homes and require amounts over 2.5 ounces to be secured in locked containers. The proposal also says licensing system will be put in effect for marijuana businesses, and it would allow municipalities to ban or restrict them. And all sales will be subject to a 10% tax, which will be used for implication costs, clinical trials, schools, roads, and municipalities where marijuana businesses are located. The second proposal on the ballot is labeled as Voters, Not Politicians. This proposed constitutional amendment is to establish a commission of citizens with exclusive authority to adapt district boundaries for the Michigan Senate, Michigan House of Representatives, and United States Congress every 10 years. If passed, this proposal would create a commission of 13 registered voters selected by the Secretary of State. 4 of the people would self-identify as affiliated with the Republican and Democrat parties. The other 5 would self-identify as unaffiliated with no major political parties. The third proposal on the ballot is titled Promote the Vote. This proposed constitutional amendment would allow a United States citizen who qualifies to vote in the state of Michigan to become automatically registered to vote when applying for or updating a driver's license or state-issued ID card. A person would also be able to register to vote with proof of residency and obtain a ballot during the 2-week period prior to an election and up to and including on Election Day. A person would be able to obtain an absentee ballot without providing any reason. Election Day is November 6th. Voting information can be found by visiting michigan.gov/vote. And speaking of Election Day, several Secretary of State offices will remain open for Michigan residents. While most state government offices will be closed on November 6th, a number of offices will be open for customers to conduct urgent business. Secretary of State Ruth Johnson said sometimes an urgent visit to Secretary of State office is unavoidable. Johnson says the offices will open on Election Day and will have limited staffing. Customers without urgent business should visit an office some other day during the week. If your license or registration expires on November 6th, all late fees will be waived if customers come to the branch the next day. The Shelby Township location on Shaner will be one of the branches open to service residents. Many services are available online 24/7. Visit expressos.com to renew vehicle plate tabs and your driver's license. The Township Boardroom was the location for a continuing discussion on the opioid epidemic our country faces. Lynn Wilhelm, a trustee here in Shelby Township, led the discussion. She also serves as co-chair of the North Macomb Coalition Prevention. This call to action was a follow-up to the event held at Imagine Theater with Helping Hands Gifts a few weeks ago. Chief Jim Swimkowski and Deputy Chief Mark Coyle were on hand to discuss this opioid issue, which is very prevalent in our community.
A lot of the problems that led to the epidemic, when you look at it, is parents, like grandparents, we get our prescriptions. I had back surgery, and just like Mark said, I was given, the Vicodins with 3 refills and things like that. I was off work for 3 months, and they do it, but then you have the leftover pills that are in the house, they get forgotten about, and we've all seen the news stories. These kids, they go in there, they grab whatever pills they can, and they throw them in a bowl, and they have parties with it. And with the over-prescribing, the things that have gone down, on in the last 20 years, it leads to problems.
I do want you to understand that we do take the opioid epidemic seriously. I was at the DEA today as working forward to putting another person on the task force. It is a crisis. It isn't a one-stop shop. We can't arrest our way out of this. We do have to take a multi-pronged approach through enforcement, through education, and through prevention. You have to do it. It's a community problem.
People from the community with concerns on the issue were given the floor to discuss their thoughts on what causes a lot of deaths every single year. There were 4 key components to the session. They were prevention, education, treatment, and enforcement. You can catch this full call to action on our YouTube page. Just search Shelby TV. Still ahead on Shelby this week, Eisenhower football made it to the playoffs, and we have your game highlights. Utica Community Schools offers a program to students who have a passion for innovation. And exchange the stuff you buy and sell online safely in the police department parking lot.
When they test you, stand firm. And move only when you hear the seatbelt click that says they're buckled in for the drive. Never give up till they buckle up.
The Eisenhower Eagles took on Chippewa Valley in Game 1 of the playoffs. Andrew Sheltsky has your game highlights.
First round of the MHSAA playoffs as the Eisenhower Eagles travel to Chippewa Valley to take on the Big Reds. Opening kickoff, short kick for Ike, and it's a live ball. Colin James recovers, and the Eagles take over. Ian Kennelly, quarterback keeper, all the way down to the 12-yard line of Chippewa Valley. And finishing the drive, Kennelly again up the middle for a 4-yard touchdown run. Put the Eagles up 7-0. Now the Big Reds driving on the doorstep. Tommy Schuster diving for the end zone. And the ball comes loose. It looks like Ike's got it. But no, he's down at the 1-yard line. Very next play, Andre Chenot busting through some arm tackles into the end zone with 5:04 left, tying it up at 7 apiece. Moving to the second quarter, Chippewa Valley on the 4-yard line of Eisenhower. And David Ellis walks in for the touchdown. Put them up 14-7. Tommy Schuster back to pass, but sacked by Anthony Cardamon and Dalton DeWicki, and it's a fumble. Eisenhower recovers. Ian Kennelly getting pressured in the pocket, runs right and throws across his body, but picked off by Corey Anderson. Schuster, screen pass to Andre Chenot, just bullying his way through defenders. Now in the Eisenhower red zone, Schuster back to pass looking, can't find anyone, and off to the races. Finally brought down at the 2-yard line. And with 2.1 seconds left in the half, Andre Chenot with his second touchdown to put him up 21-7. Start of the second half, Ian Kennelly back to pass, bombs it to Massimo D'Aristotle, finally brought down at the 36 of Chippewa Valley. Eisenhower going for pay dirt. Ian Kennelly but right through the outstretched hands of Nathan Pettypool. That drive would stall out and Chippewa Valley would take over. But nobody could stop Andre Chenot. Diving for the end zone, down at the 1-yard line. Very next play, Andre Chenot in for his third. He's got a hat trick of touchdowns. The extra point was no good, and they led 27-7. And the final nail in the coffin, Andre Chenot with a 48-yard touchdown rumble. Bring us to our final score. Chippewa Valley Big Reds 34, Eisenhower Eagles 7.
From all of us at Shelby TV, we want to congratulate the Eagles on a well-done season. The Utica Community Schools District revealed its first career academy. Students at Stevenson High School now have the opportunity to participate in a program called Manufacturing, Automation, and Design Engineering Academy. It's a high school program which gives students a link between what they learn in the classroom, which is needed for success in college, and the high-tech jobs in the future. This academy offers the why behind school. The program gives high school students an opportunity to learn about fields of welding and machining, as well as automation and design engineering.
Young ladies and young men help them acquire the skills they need to understand what manufacturing is today, not what it was yesterday. They'll have the skill sets, so they'll be able to choose, whether it's in automation, design, or engineering, choose their major, and then be able to pursue their post-secondary education or a job and go from there. Or they'll be able, particularly for young ladies, this is a field where historically women have been underrepresented. We are going to increase the number of young women in the area of manufacturing.
Although this program is only offered to Stevenson High School students, Dr. Johns said the district hopes to expand to other high schools in the future. With the cold weather right around the corner, a winter coat is an essential in Michigan. For some people, purchasing a coat can be way too expensive, which is why Macy's has stepped in to lend a helping hand. From November 4th to November 6th, every coat purchased in the outerwear department, Macy's will match that purchase and donate a brand new winter coat to Clothes for Souls. This is the 6th annual year the retailer has participated in this coat program. Since 2013, Macy's has donated $8 million in coats, helping more than 200,000 people during the winter months. All the coats are brand new and average $40 to $100 in price. Coats will be distributed locally to people in need in the Metro Detroit area. And speaking of giving back, the Shelby Township Police Department is asking for your help again this year for their annual collection of Toys for Tots. The annual toy drive is a campaign for the United States Marine Corps. The drive began in 1947 in California by a Marine Reserve. That year they distributed 5,000 toys in the Los Angeles area. Since then, they have collected and distributed 548 million toys to children across the United States. The police department will have the Toys for Tots box in their lobby until December 16th. Be sure to stop in any day of the week to drop off a brand new unwrapped toy to bring a smile to a child's face this holiday season. Are you selling stuff on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist? Well, the police department has a convenient way for you to meet up with the buyer. In the Shelby Township Police Department's parking lot, there are 2 spaces with signs specifically designated for e-commerce exchange zones. The area is under surveillance 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is an alternative to having people come to your home. It's a safe way to exchange your internet purchases. Coming up next, learn how to bake at a new shop here in Shelby Township. It's time for you to change those batteries in your smoke detectors. We have these stories and more coming up next.
Opioid dependence can happen after just 5 days. Know the truth, spread the truth.
With a longing for a career change, both these women decided to make the ultimate leap into the baking business. After a long process, their shop here in Shelby Township is open, and you can even learn a thing or two about baking by visiting them.
You don't just come in and you don't get a vanilla and chocolate cupcake here. We have different flavors on a daily basis, and then we have our treats, special treats of the weeks, and you know, we try to be a little bit different, more fresh, new, and want to stay with the times and make sure that we're giving people what they want.
It's also ingredients too. We use really good ingredients. So, I mean, we're not buying just any cheap thing off the shelf. We're using King Arthur flour. We're using just very high quality ingredients. It makes a huge difference. There's no preservatives, so everything is just, it's real. It's real ingredients, real food.
Every item the bakehouse sells is made from scratch, which gives the customer a fulfilling taste with every bite. Every day, Erica and Diana are in the kitchen baking and creating. In every product, they add their own signature flair.
Right now we had some cinnamon snickerdoodle cupcakes that we're making, made with like vanilla cake batter base, and then our delicious chocolate cupcakes as well. We already have some in the case, but as the day goes on, we obviously have to refill it, so we're going to throw these in the oven.
While everyone might not be an expert baker, there are some tips the bakehouse follows with everything they make. And believe it or not, there is a particular science behind it.
It's the right ratios of the ingredients and the right baking powder and flour and sugar, and then obviously making sure that you fill them up properly and so they dome properly. Otherwise they'll sink in, they'll cave. I mean, even we have issues on occasion where they'll not bake properly. But
yeah, even how you mix it depends. So if you don't mix it enough, then they're not going to be as fluffy. They might be more dense. If you mix them too much, they might ooze out of the side and not fluff up. So yeah, it's everything has to be just right when you're baking. There's specific ratios that you have to follow, and just the way you add ingredients in as well. We have a line of cupcakes, I could call them as our Detroit Pop cupcakes, and we use Faygo in them. So in the batter, these are rock and rye flavored. So in the actual cupcake batter, there is rock and rye Faygo, and then also in our buttercream, there's also rock and rye in here. So these have become very popular. We've done other flavors in the past. We've done grape and orange, but the rock and rye, people come in specifically just for these cupcakes. So it's pretty simple. After they're out, we just do quick swirls. It's all about the wrist action. And so with the piping tip, we hold it just above the cupcake. You don't want to touch the piping tip to the cupcake or it'll spurt out the sides. And then just slowly move it up.
And if the perfect swirl is challenging for you, well, the bakehouse might be the place you want to check out to hone your skills.
yeah, so we have this gigantic room in the front of our building, and we're going to offer birthday parties, classes, decorating classes where you can decorate cupcakes, you can decorate cakes, ladies' night out events. We're attached to a local sangria shop behind us, so ladies can taste some sangria and then come over here and learn how to do cake decorating and cupcake decorating, things that are starting to you see pop up more and more now, but we have the space to do this in. So that was one thing that we really wanted to do as well. And with her teaching background, it really just, it's a twofold. Like it just helps her bring her teaching skills back, and then and then for me, it's you know, it's learning process for me as well. But it's fun to see the classes and be able to teach people what we've learned over the years.
There's even a special treat this summer for your kids.
In the summer, we're going to be offering summer camps for kids. So we are going to get into where kids can learn the basics of baking. You know, they get all of their own ingredients. They can learn how to measure properly, how to mix properly, and we're going to start offering that next year as well. So we're very excited to. There are so many kids that are just so into baking and they love it. So we're excited to offer that.
Visit the bakehouse today, located on Van Dyke in Shelby Township. You can also check out their Facebook and Instagram pages. It's that time of year again, time for your clocks to fall back an hour. Daylight saving time ends on November 4th at 2 a.m. The good news is we get an extra hour of sleep, and the mornings will be lighter for the time being. The bad news, we will see less and less light in the evening. Don't forget to set your clocks back 1 hour on November 4th at 2 a.m. When you change your clocks, it's also a great time to change those batteries in your smoke detectors. Fire department officials recommend smoke alarm batteries be tested at least once a month and changed twice a year. The National Fire Protection Association says 3 out of 5 fire deaths occur in homes with no smoke alarms. It's important to check to make sure those batteries are in working order because they can save a life. That's all we have for this edition of Shelby This Week. Remember, you can always watch us online or on Facebook. Just search Shelby TV. We will leave you now with the Senior Center Choir, who celebrated this time of year with their rendition of Flying Purple People Eater. Enjoy, and thanks for watching.
Well, I saw the thing coming out of the sky. It had one long horn and one big eye. I commenced to shake it and I said, "Oh wait, it looks like a purple people eater to me." It was a one-eyed, one-horn, flying purple people eater. One-eyed, one-horn, flying purple people eater. One-eyed, one-horn, flying purple people eater. Sure looks strange to me. Well, he came down to earth and he lit in a tree. I said, "Mr. Purple People Eater, don't eat me." I heard him say in a voice so gruff, "'Cause you're too tough." It was a one-eyed, one-horn, flying purple people eater. One-eyed, one-horn, flying purple people eater. One-eyed, one-horn, flying purple people eater. Sure looks strange to me. I said, "Mr. Purple People Eater, what's your line?" He said,
"Eating purple people and it sure is fine. But that's not the reason that I came to land. I want to join a rock and roll band."
Well, bless my soul, rock and roll, flying purple people eater, pigeon-toed undergrowth, flying purple people eater. He wears short shorts, friendly little people eater. What a sight to see! And he swung from the tree and he lit on the ground, and he started to rock, really rocking around. It was a crazy ditty with a swinging tune. Aluma bam boom, well bless my soul, rock and roll, flying purple people eater, pigeon-toed undergrowth, flying purple people eater. He wears short shorts, friendly little people eater. What a sight to see! Well, he went on his way, and then what do you know? I saw him last night on a TV show. He was blowing out really